It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
Hey guys, how is it going? And welcome to the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. It is Wednesday, October 16th, and so happy for you joining us. We are ready to start another day together with the Lord. So subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. So today we have an exciting podcast for you. We have Thoughts on Praise with Pastor RJ, the Evangelism Word Study, and of course, commentaries, updates, and news on what is happening around the world in this history today. All right, everyone, how are you doing? And it is a wonderful Wednesday. It is the middle of the week. Hope you guys have enjoyed your week thus far. Don't forget, we have Q&A Thursday tomorrow and every single week, so get those questions ready. Send it to me whenever you can. And if you haven't yet, leave a like and comment to build our community. Just super happy for everyone joining us every weekday on the Morning Star Drive. So let's get up and support each other each and every day. This week's Sunday Message title, yes, there are three. If you were given one thing, do many things through it rather than being satisfied with just that. Second one, it will surely be fulfilled. And of course, dream revelations and regular revelations. All right. So it is a wonderful and awesome Wednesday. I am having really busy week. Well, the good thing was Monday was a day off for me. Like I was able to just take a break, a rest, because the weekend was so packed. I told you guys about what happened on over the weekend. Tuesday was a really busy day. I'm trying to even remember what I actually did. In Korea, they have a monthly leaders prayer meeting. So all the head leaders and assistant leaders from all over the country come to Wolmyeongdong, and once a month we have a prayer meeting. The thing that was really cool about this one was that Sasim sent this really long message, right? And this message was delivered, and I think it took about an hour to deliver it. It was like over 40 pages, right? And if you think about Sunsim's situation right now, it's pretty incredible that he is able to send the 40 pages. Now, I was going to actually deliver some of the message today, but from what I found out is that I believe this message will be delivered on the Friday prayer meeting, so you guys will be able to hear that pretty soon too. So it's going to be for the Friday prayer meeting. It's going to be awesome, really deep. Talks about the situation happening in Korea and stuff like that too. So don't miss out on this one. It's going to be a really deep, powerful message, and I hope that all of you guys will be more and more inspired to pray about this too. Excuse me. Yeah, so we had that leaders meeting, and then right after that, it was kind of cool. Right after the leaders meeting, I was able to meet another member from Europe, and I was able to give lecture training. Now, I haven't given lecture training in a very long time, but I was able to, spend a little bit over an hour with one of the leaders, and it was, it was really refreshing for me to be able to go over lecturing again because it's been such a long time, and because it's been such a long time, like I had to refresh my mind, but as I was doing lecture training, it reminded me of how much I miss lecturing. It really did. Like, I'm like, wow, I want to lecture again. Or it actually more than me wanting to lecture again, it actually like sparked this fire for me to give lecture training. Do you know what I mean? Like that's something I'm like, ooh, that would be something really cool for me to do. I would definitely get into that. I really would. Of course, it's really hard for me right now because I'm a director of IMD. Plus, I'm doing like this YouTube channel. I'm doing the Rebel Pastor YouTube channel. And, speak of the devil, today's video will premiere. It's going to premiere pretty soon, within the next, 4 hours? 4.5 hours. It's going to premiere from when this video actually came out. So very cool one because I get to go over this week's message about the parable of the talents or the parable of the bags of gold. So I will put in some extra stuff from what Sunsteam said in the past about it too. So, but that's going to be for the newcomer channel. So especially for that, guys, that is something I definitely want to, if you guys can support as much as you can. And the biggest support is either subscribing, and even if you can't listen to the video, like while you're at work, just turn the video on your phone and let your phone just go on. You don't even have to listen to it, because even that in itself is support. If you want to do even bigger support, just take the link and share it with your friends and stuff like that too. Our goal for that channel for this year is 10,000 subscribers, right? And like I told you guys before, it's something like 1.25% of channels actually reach 10,000 subscribers, which I think is pretty incredible, that only 1.25% can actually reach that mark. We're already far ahead of the curve right now on YouTube because we're at 6,000 followers. And even that is so much further ahead than many other channels. And the great thing that we have, for me is I am super thankful because there are these loyal troopers that help out with the editing and stuff like this, or the thumbnails. And they are the ones that really are kind of like the powerhouse behind it. Of course, I need to record the videos and stuff like that too, but they were the ones who are always there and always helping me out. So I'm super thankful and grateful for them too. And I'm hoping that in the future, it'll become something that we can actually make into something that can actually be like a livelihood, right? That's what I really, really want. But it's quite interesting for me to balance this IMD and balancing the two YouTube channels. Like for me, I can't imagine that sometimes it's going to be almost impossible to do. Like I feel that moment will pop up where I'm going to be like, there's no way I can do it. But for now, I think, I have no problems with it. I can do it. I'm getting all the stuff that I need to get done. So this is why I've never skipped one yet. But I think in the future, just a little bit of a pre-warning. I'm not doing this on purpose, but I do feel that there will come a time. I'm not sure when. You guys can start making your bets, right? Start making your bets of when do you think I'm actually going to. When am I going to actually be able to? When am I going to actually miss my first podcast? That would be quite interesting to see what people would bet on, right? Do you think maybe that'll be a poll question for another time, or maybe I'll make it for today's poll question. The poll question would be, when do you think I will miss my first podcast? Right? Remember, I haven't missed in 4.5 years. It's coming on 5 years next 3/16. So my thing to you guys, I'm going to ask you guys is put in the polls, when do you think I will miss my first podcast? Which means that one day you'll wake up, you click to my YouTube channel, and there's nothing there. Like I remember in the past, I would make a mistake because I would schedule it for the wrong time or maybe the wrong day, and then I would post it up right away. But I actually did it. It was just posted wrong. Let's that's gonna be a great poll question. Is when do you think I am going to actually miss my first podcast? That would be kind of interesting to see. And that's something I want to see what you guys think. Like, what do you guys really think of? Because I think it's inevitable. It is absolutely inevitable, I think, right? Especially because now that my situation is, my main mission is IMD. That's the main one, right? So I'm curious what you guys think. Is it going to be this year? Is it going to be next year, first quarter, next year, second quarter? Because we're into the fourth quarter of 2024, right? So I would say 2024, because there's only 3 months left, or January to March 2025, or April to June of 2025, or Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I'm very very curious to hear what you guys think is when I'm going to miss my first podcast. I would love to hear what your thoughts would be, and yeah, I'm wondering if we could like maybe in the future actually have like a like a like a contest to see who can match the exact day when I will miss my first podcast, and then that person will win some type of prize or something along that line. I don't know. It's just something that I was thinking about, but I think it would just be fun. But last week's poll question was actually really interesting to see. Right? We're talking about what is the thing that people struggle with the most, and I actually thought that this would be the answer, which is life issues, work, people, finances. And that's like half the people, 49% of the people struggle with this the most. Guess what the least is? The least is Sunsteam's trial, which is great, right? It just shows that people really understand what is going on. And they understand that it's like it's not really a make or break issue. Most people I've talked to, they're kind of like, yeah, it's kind of a very different court system, and it's not quite as fair as it should be. So when I hear people talk about that, it shows me that they understand, what is going on with the trial, how unfair it really is. So, yeah, interestingly, Sunsteam's trial is the least thing that people struggle with is only 6%, which means that you're talking 94% are all other things, whether it's basic faith, which is also a very, only 9%. It's a very, very small one. But you look at basically 77%, 60, 69, 77. Yeah, 77% of the people are either struggling with life issues or their own thoughts. Right? Those are the two main things that people are struggling over. And that's like 2/3. That's more than 2/3 of the people are struggling with those two things, right? And there's probably going to be a lot of different things that pop up because of this. Like, when I can look at it in multiple different ways. Like, number one is, just like Sunsteam talked about in the past, Sunsteam said that Jesus healed the sick and helped the poor because as long as they struggled with these physical things, they could not hear the word very well. Right? So when I think about this, you can look at it as, yeah, this is kind of one of the things that people are trying to overcome and they are struggling with. And that's why it's harder for them to overcome because they can't hear the words very well. So we really need to help people out. So that's one side I can look at it. The other side that we could see is sometimes people get too focused on the physical things or the things of the world. And this basically, because people are not focused on God as much, their focus goes in the wrong direction. They become much more physical, right? And there's going to be plenty of reasons for why people are focused on these things. And it's probably different from person to person. Some people struggle with the first thing. Some people struggle with the second thing. Some people struggle with a different answer, right? There's always going to be something that people are struggling with, and everyone's going to be in different situations and circumstances, but it's good for us to see that we have more than 2/3 of the people, and they're actually not even struggling about the trial. They're not struggling with basic faith. The biggest things they struggle with is either their own thoughts or basic life issues, right? And for me, I think it's encouraging. I think it's encouraging as people are not struggling over the things that leaders may think that people, oh no, they're struggling because of the trial, they're struggling because of this, maybe we shouldn't talk about this, maybe we shouldn't talk about that. But reality is, a lot of the people, because we have almost 90 people who have voted for this, and only 6%. Right? If 6% are struggling over Sunsteam's trial out of 90 people, that's going to be out of 90, you're not going to, 10% of 90 is 9, which means if you have 6%, it's like half of it, which means 5 people. 5 people out of 90 are struggling with Sunsteam's trial, which is a very small number, which is also a good sign, I think, that people are not going to be struggling over that one thing, right? So that's something that I thought was pretty amazing and pretty healthy for all of us to understand what people were struggling over. But yeah, if it gets too serious with my poll questions, that's why I want to do a little bit of a fun one, seeing when will I miss my first podcast. Right now that I have this mission, when I'm busy all the time. Even right now, it's like 11:45 p.m. On Tuesday night, so that I'm recording this for the Wednesday podcast. But it's very, very interesting. I want to get your thoughts on that also. So I had something that I was really thinking about. Me being an IMD, I talk to a lot of leaders and such, and this is something that I want you to go into the mind of a leader, okay? And this is going to be, like we talked before about the fine line, the balance between confidentiality and transparency. Like, both are important. You can't be over transparent, right? You can't, if you're 100% transparent, does that mean the leader's going to start talking about all the personal problems of like followers? And the answer is no way. There's confidentiality in that too, which, I would say is very important, because sometimes people are going to say is, you got to be more transparent. And sometimes I'll say is like, well, I can't be fully transparent in one area because I don't want to hurt other people. And I know Sunseem is someone who's very good at this, that he'll give an answer, but he won't give details for certain things, because it's going to be talking about a person that's still in Providence. It's going to be talking about people that are actually struggling with something. You know what I mean? And I think this is one of the hardest things to gauge, is that balance between like the opposites, and both are very, very important. We want transparency and we want confidentiality at the same time. Now, another thing that I noticed that as I talk to leaders, another hard thing that it made me think back to my time as a head leader too, is the fine line between like pushing God's will and then also like listening to the congregation, right? I think this is one of the most hardest things to do. So imagine there's something that is God's will, something that Sunseem really wants. But then on the flip side, sometimes people or the congregation doesn't really understand it, or they may even be against it. You're like, wait, that doesn't make any sense, right? Well, if it's what Sunseem says, isn't that, don't we just do that? And that would kind of break one of the rules that Sunseem says is, don't use my name in vain. We're not here to force people to do things. And, that's one of the things we hate, is when people say to us, well, Sunseem said this. That's something we don't like. And we would probably be mad at leaders if leaders kind of used the Sunseem card to make us do something. You know what I mean? That's something we don't want. And I thought to myself, is like, yeah, that is something that we don't want as a leader to do, is to make people feel forced, make people feel like they're doing something against what Sunseem wants. So then how would God's will is God's will. And Sunseem even says to leaders like, hey, in the end, it's about God's will. And don't get swayed by the atmosphere of the people there. It's got to be about God's will, right? And God's will is number one. However, because we're in a place with human beings, and we can't force people to agree. So if you can't force people to agree, then what do you have to do? And it's much more than making them agree. It's more about making people just understand. Because, there's always situations and circumstances that people go through, and these situations, circumstances could be traumatic, or they could be things that people really struggle with. Like, let me give you a great example. Okay, best example. When you guys understand when I call this the best example. Excuse me. So in 2023, remember, we all know all the things that happened with KJS, right? So those things happened, and there is a traumatic thing that happened to a lot of people. And I'm not surprised, especially in the Whitestone Church, because they were there, when she was literally their leader. And what was the trauma? Well, it's not just what she said, but also it has to do with money, embezzlement of money and stuff, right? So what will people, because of 2023, people are traumatized by the fact that someone who was so trusted can do something like that. Which means that nowadays, even though we know that what she did was wrong, it makes people less trustworthy when it comes to issues about money. Right? Like, think about that. That shook people's trust and confidence in leadership, especially when it comes to money. And guess what? Don't you think it's totally understandable? I would say it's super understandable. The closer you are to the situation, the more you're going to be like, oh man, I totally understand what this person is going through. It's a real trauma that they struggled with. And this is why that now, because of what happened in 2023, we have to be even more careful and make sure that everyone understands. Sorry, guys, I'm not sick. I just have something stuck in my throat. I don't know what it is, right? So that's just an example that I'm using because it is a real example. I think a lot of us, maybe not so much us in the foreign countries and the Western countries too, because it's not like we were, yes, we trusted her. Yes, we put a lot of trust into her, but it wasn't like we were working with her every single day. And it's not like she was the one stealing our money kind of thing, right? So imagine if you're someone directly affected by it, right? And I think one of the things we do need to understand is what a leader has to go through, where there's going to be that gung-ho group that is pure providence, full-time, they understand everything, and they're, everyone on this side, they all say, but Sansanim said it. Why won't you do it? But we also have to recognize is that we're dealing with human beings. And how many times have people been burnt by someone who lied and said, Sunseem said this. Sunseem allowed this. You know what I mean? And it's something we really, really have to take into consideration is people have gone through different things. And because they have gone through it, they're going to struggle with it. And that's something that we need to understand is it's just a part of life. And I think as a leader, one of the hardest things a leader has to do is help people to understand even though they may not agree with it, right? Like even if you look at an election, because even in America, you have an election coming in 3 weeks, right? But not everyone's going to agree. As long as everyone understands, that's the best you can do. Not everyone's going to get their way. Half the country is going to be disappointed after the elections in America. Half the country, right? What we need to really, really understand is that we have to be those, as leaders of this history, understanding, being empathetic about what people are going through. Yes, of course, Sunseem said so, and I understand that point. But we also have to understand that people have gone through different things. And this was something I was talking about with a friend of mine. And we're like, man, how do you get people to really, really understand? Because Sunseem talks about God's will, but Sunseem also talks about the congregation. Discuss with them, talk with them, right? Discuss it together, make a decision together kind of thing, right? So both of those things are important. Of course, number one is going to be God's will, but even God's will cannot advance in the church if everyone doesn't go with one heart. You know what I mean? It's far better for the congregation to be together and do something that might be a little bit lesser, but it'll be much better doing it that way when everyone is one, rather than one person, excuse me, one person like pushing one agenda and then making everyone else feel like, oh my gosh, I feel so forced, or this too strong kind of thing, right? So it is something that we have to really open our hearts towards and really make sure that we realize just this is what kind of a leader's going to go through. And some people who are very, very passionate and zealous for Providence, they're going to have no problems. They're going to do whatever something said, they're just going to do it, right? But that's you're going to look at, that's not going to be the majority of the church. Majority of the church needs explanation, which I think is necessary. And they need to know how and, how things are going to happen and what are the details behind it before they give their full, their full endorsement on a certain thing that they want to get done. Wow. I got this thing stuck in my throat pretty bad right now. It makes me kind of think to myself am I catching a cold or not? But yeah, that's one of the things that I was discussing with a friend. I wanted to share that with you guys just to see what you guys thought about that too. But yeah, there's always a fine line and a fine balance of doing things in certain ways. And it really made me understand once again what we need to do to make harmony and to make sure that the church is moving together as one. All right? Either way, super grateful and thankful that you guys have been following this podcast for some of you have been following for 4.5 years already. I'm very thankful that we have new people doing podcasts on Tuesdays with Eddie and Rachel. And they're second gens. And then we have Daniel Baker doing Fridays, second gen. So it's kind of cool that we have this chat room with me, Daniel, Eddie, and Rachel. And, we're all really young and we're really hip and cool and stuff, right? 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 Or are you going to kick me out of that group? Because we're really young and stuff. No? All right. Cool. Just checking. Either way, so I hope you guys enjoyed this first segment. If you have any questions or any comments, leave them in the comments below. We'd love to hear what you guys are thinking, which means we'll move into, we're going to go into the second part, which is the evangelism scripts, word study. Before we get in, I'm going to talk a little bit about lecturing, right? And I'm going to go over some of the points that I made while I was helping doing lecture training today. But before we get into that, let's get into the first music break of the day.
Y'all ready for this?
You've shown you love me with things you've given. You know I love you, I'm already singing about the stories that we have together. It's here forever, it will only get better from now on. Everything that you've given, I'm so grateful. Let me show you my love, cause I'm so thankful. Let us dance on the streets, let us rock to the beat. Show me how you feel about me, watch me move my feet. You're always on my mind, I can feel it in my heart. Everything's alright, cause you're not so far. Please take my hand and love me through a dance. I wanna show you my love, so give me a chance. We have stories of joy and pain, but that's okay, cause that's like dancing in the wind. And I will say it again, I'ma dance with you.
I'ma dance with you. I'ma dance with you. We can move to the beat. Our love so complete. I'ma dance with you. I'ma dance with you. I'ma dance with you. We can groove to the beat. Our love so complete.
You've shown your loving, you gave me a chance. And with the mistakes I've made, I've never fallen away from you. Though times are rough, it'll be okay, cause I am never
Sometimes are a little scary, but with you, I won't feel weary. Even on cloudy days when skies are gray, my heart's okay. The sun will shine through the rain today.
Let us dance on the streets, let us rock to the beat. Show me how you feel about me, watch me move my feet. You're always on my mind, I can feel it in my heart. Everything's alright, cause you're not so far. Please take my hand and love me through a dance. Wanna show you my love, so give me a chance. We have stories of joy and pain, but that's okay, cause that's like dancing in the wind. And I will say it again, I'ma dance with you.
I'ma dance with you, I'ma dance with you. We can move to the beat, our love so complete. I'ma dance with you, I'ma dance with you, I'ma dance with you. We can groove to the beat, our love so complete. I'ma dance with you.
All right, so let's get into today's evangelism scripts word study, and I wanted to share something that I was telling you guys before, that I did lecture training today. I did it for about a little over an hour, and it's been a long time since I've actually gotten into like any lecture training or doing any parts of lectures at all. Most of my experience right now is coming from MSD and stuff like that too, and I was just really grateful and thankful that I had this opportunity, and I think God is kind of sparking something inside my heart once again. And I think one thing I'm super thankful for is that because I'm still doing MSD, I still have, I guess, the practice to keep speaking all the time, and it allows me to keep my my speaking in. I'm still speaking a lot every single day, talking for like an hour every day to the audience over here. I'm doing it for the Rebel Pastor YouTube channel and stuff like that too. And I think this is kind of one of the ways God keeps me, I guess, fresh. So I'm not losing the speaking skills that I've kind of acquired along the way in my path in this history. Like I said, it's been 26 years since I've been here. I spent most of my time in lecturing. When I came to Providence in September 22nd, 1998. And I believe my first lecture was like a month and a half, 2 months later. Yeah, I think it might have even been sooner. And a lot of people, they're pretty shocked when I tell them that I was a campus leader. Almost like from the moment I came to Providence, I was like a campus leader right away. And one of the reasons, let me just tell you the reason why I was campus leader is because I was the only person on my campus. And my head leader, our church had 4 or 5 different campuses, like people like attending 4 or 5 different campuses. And he's only one person, and he was going around lecturing everywhere. And because of that, this is why, when I evangelize someone, my head leader wasn't able to come because he's lecturing other people in other campuses, and he can't just come here. So he basically gave me the green light to start to lecture. And for me, my very first lecture, I will never forget it, was Peter in the Fish. And I prepared like crazy. I listened to, I think, 4 different people teach Peter in the Fish. And I liked it when they, this sounds kind of funny though. I liked it when they gave me their cassette tape. Some of you guys don't know what a cassette tape is, but they gave me their cassette tape. And this cassette tape, I was able to listen to it over and over again, and just really take the parts that I was inspired and moved by. And then for my very first lecture, I gave Peter and the Fish, and the 3 leaders of the church, they asked me to teach in front of them. And I prepared like crazy for this lecture. And interesting thing that happened was they said, okay, go ahead. So I started my lecture. I taught Peter and the Fish. And one of the lecturers looked at me and said, I have never heard Peter and the fish taught that way, ever. And I was like, what? And interestingly, it's because I took 4 different lectures, took the best parts that I really liked, and I made my own lecture out of it. The exact same points, the exact same things. The only difference was that I kind of was able to put it into like more of a story form, right? And one of the lectures, it was probably one of the best compliments that I was like it really encouraged me a lot, was that they've just never heard Peter and the fish taught in that way before. And it's still the way I teach it today, because that was one of the most impactful stories that I've had with the Lord in my life. And it's very, very interesting because I taught that lesson, and then the person, the person understood the lesson really well. But the one thing that was crazy was, as I began to start lecturing, I'm not sure if any of you have gone through this, but in the very beginning when I started to teach, there would be times I would be teaching and my legs, or like my butt, under the table, it wasn't my upper body, my lower body would be shaking like crazy, like almost uncontrollable. And I couldn't figure out what the heck that meant, until one day, Sunsim was telling a story that, you know how, I'm not sure if you guys, some of you may not have seen Sunsim speak a lot or know some of Sunsim's stories in the past, but those of you guys who've seen and heard Sunsim a lot, like in person, close up, you'll see that sometimes always watch his right hand. His right hand like twitches and shakes whenever he receives inspiration from God. It's incredible. Like you see it twitch and stuff, you're like, whoa, he just received the message from God right now kind of thing, or you receive some type of inspiration. But what he said in the past was that when he first started to preach the word, when he first started to speak the words of God, he said his entire body would shake uncontrollably because his body could not handle, basically God working through him. And he said it took time before his body, he got used to it. And then now the only thing that shakes is his right hand. The right hand twitches whenever he receives the inspiration from God. So when I heard that, I was like, wow. So even for me, when I was lecturing and teaching, I realized that, my legs were shaking because it was God working through me, and I've never had God work through me like that before when I was lecturing. And when I heard Sunsim's story, it made me realize why those types of things, why my legs were shaking and stuff like that too. And I'm going to tell you, it didn't shake. I think it was only one time that it shaked so uncontrollably. I actually thought that I was having a stroke or something. It was that uncontrollable. And the only thing I was so thankful and grateful for is that the newcomer didn't see what was happening under the table. He had no idea how much I was shaking. But those were like my first experiences with lecturing. And I would say that, when we lecture, one of the things that's really, really important for all of us, and this is something we talked about in the past, is, when you start, of course, the most important part is the spiritual part, right? And it always starts, I would say there's 3 stages of lecturing. The first stage of lecturing is basically memorization, right? Memorization, and sometimes you don't need to memorize because you have your notes in front of you and you just kind of follow the lecture flow. And that's what most people do, right? They get a lecture, they get lecture notes from someone else, and they kind of just follow step by step, go through the reasoning and understanding of how you're supposed to teach the lecture, right? And even with that, trust me, guys, even if you just teach like that, people are going to realize. They will. That's the words of God, right? People are going to realize. They're going to say, oh, wow, these words are deep, these words are strong, and stuff like that too, right? And That's going to be level one. Level one of lecturing for beginners is basically you're going to get the information and you kind of do it as it is, right? You've always seen it done a certain way, and it's always going to be done that way. And I'm going to say it's enough. If you can do that really well, you'll be able to teach really well, right? Now, what happens to the second level of lecturing? The second level of lecturing is like putting on the grace onto the message, putting the grace to the message. Now, what does that mean? What Sunseam says is the 30 lessons, all the Bible verses, the step-by-step teaching people about parables, teaching people about symbolism and perspective. These are all what you call the skeleton of the lesson. So everyone's going to have the same verses. Everyone's going to have the same, like the same conclusion of what fire actually is. We're all going to teach the exact same thing. Now, if that is the skeleton of the lecture, then what is the flesh? And Sunseam said, flesh is the grace. So where will you get the grace? And the answer is, grace comes from the Sunday message. And one thing, if you want to take your lectures to another level, your introduction is not going to be just like point by point of the Sunday message. It's going to be more about the realizations. Like what is the, a big point that you really enjoyed or received a lot of grace from the Sunday message. And you'll take that one point and use that point as your introduction to the Sunday message. Right? And I would say that, Sunday message is the safest and the easiest ones, or testimonies are really powerful too. So some people can start with the testimony, right? And that testimony, when you preach that testimony, what's going to happen is people are going to be like, they're going to be inspired. And they're like, wow, this happened to you. Oh, what happened next? What happened here? That's going to be part of your testimony, right? And that's something that I do feel that a lot of us, we need is these testimonies. Now, sometimes you're going to think to yourself, is a testimony is some type of thing that God has done in your life, right? However, I think something that's even just as powerful as a testimony is an experience that you realize from, right? Go to a story in your life where there was some high level of emotion, whether it's joy, whether it's anger, whether it's sadness. Go into that life experience and pull out a realization from it. Because one thing that Sunseam did say is, when you think about the things in the past, what God has done for you, or the difficulties that you went through, don't just leave it at that. Pray and allow the Holy Spirit to help you to realize what that experience was, what God is teaching you through that experience. And I'll tell you right now, this is one of the things that I love to do is go into the past, things that happened yesterday, the week before that, and realizing what God is saying to you in your life. Because life experience is real, right? It is a real experience, and it's something where God can absolutely teach you through. And this is something I do believe that we're able to use in our lectures, right? I use tons of these stories in my lectures too, right? So I am hoping that, all of us too can really be able to understand very, very deeply that lecturing is very organic, right? The skeleton will remain the same, but you can make it very organic and raw, and you can put in testimonies. You can put in realizations from the Sunday message, and you want to weave it throughout the message. And I would say that that's level 2. Level 2 is when you start putting flesh onto the lessons with what God is saying as for the Sunday message as the biggest one you can use. Testimonies you can also use too, but the Sunday message is the biggest one. And the reason why the Sunday message is that big, remember this, me coming from the former faith, one of the things that people in the former faith always wanted is what? They always wanted to figure out, or they always wanted to know, what was God saying to me right now at this time? Right? That's something that everyone wants to know. What is God saying to me right now? But the former faith doesn't have the man of mission, which means that they can only get messages from the Bible or from a sermon, and then they hear God speak to them, right? But they can't get what God is actually saying in real time to them. But here in this history, because we have the man of mission, we are getting those words. Every week we get the words we're supposed to hear for that week. God is telling us for that week what we need to do. And it's that big. And we need to realize that because those words from Sunday are for this week, the Wednesday message is for this week, it means that those are the exact words that God is saying to the world. And if you take those words and put them into action, it'll be the answer to every problem we have in life. That's what it is. And if we can't recognize this, right, then you'll realize why you don't value the Sunday message that much, because you don't believe it's actually God speaking to you in real time right now, right? So I hope it's something that you'll take yourself at least to level 2 and you put flesh onto the skeleton. Now, what is the highest level from what I've experienced? The highest level that I have experienced when it comes to lecturing is not just teaching and putting flesh under the lecture, but also listening to the Holy Spirit's inspiration. That every once in a while in your lecture, the Holy Spirit will lead you in a new direction, and you will speak about something. You don't know why you're speaking it, but it's exactly what that person needed at that time. I would say that is the highest and the hardest too. To be in mid-lecture, to have the confidence and the bravery and the open heart to follow that inspiration that may not even be part of the message itself, but it is the perfect message for that person at that time. It's the message God wants to give them, right? And when you get really good at lecturing and receiving the inspiration and such, you'll be able to receive that inspiration and go back into the message. Like you'll literally go back into the message where you can weave even that inspiration back into the message too. And I would say that would be like level 3. I would say that's the highest, right? For us as people who are delivering the message. And I think it's something that we do need to think about. It's something that we do need to realize and understand more deeply. And it is something that I think that we can strive to reach that level. I personally, even Sunseam says, the skeleton is enough for a beginner, but we're not striving to just do the basic skeleton. Sunseam says, put flesh, put grace onto the lecture. And if we can do this, this is when we're able to have living lectures, right? So, that's something that I was remembering as I was doing lecture training today, and I was like, wow, I haven't talked about that in a long time. But it was something that I looked at and said, wow, that's really, really important for all of us, right? And I hope it's something that we can really help each other with and understand that, yeah, God is doing amazing things. And, one of the greatest things we can do in this history is to deliver the words of God, right? Lecturing and preaching. Okay? Either way, that is the thing that I wanted to share for today. If you have any questions or anything that you want to add to it or comment on, let me know. Love to hear from you guys too. Okay? So, our last section, we're all looking forward to this, is great series that's being done by Pastor RJ over there in Taiwan for praise and music education. So before we get into that, let's get into the last music break of the day.
be strong, to live with God in my heart. The tears you shed pray all night long, your love and light at the break of dawn. The days when you were gone, your words stay here in my heart. I'll hold on to you tightly, Lord. Your word is your love, I'm not alone. Now even if this dark world is frightening, wind and waves and thunders crashing, no matter what, our love will not change. You're with me and I'm with you. I will always, always love you, no matter if the world forsakes you. From all the love and miracles through you, I've witnessed the truth. I'll fly high with you. I will never, never leave you, no matter if the world forsakes you. With all the love and blessings from you, I'll never forget all that you've done for me. I promise to be strong, to live with God in my heart. I will not waver to wrong thoughts. I'll stay right here where I belong. You suffered all along, your wounds lie deep in my heart. We'll guard you, Lord, till your pain's gone. We'll comfort you, so lie in our arms. Now even if this dark world is frightening, wind and waves and thunders crashing, no matter what, our love will not change. You're with me and I'm with you. I will always, always love you, no matter if the world forsakes you. Your love for God burns so brightly, rise out of ashes, your light will set me free. I'll never, never leave you, no matter if the world forsakes you. With all the love and blessings from you, I'll never forget all that you've done for me.
Okay, so let's get into the final segment on today's Wednesday podcast. And of course, we're doing a series on praise and worship and all the education that is given by Sunsim on this too. So I hope that you guys will enjoy this. This is Pastor RJ over there in Taiwan, good friend of mine. Hope you guys enjoy this. Pastor RJ from Taiwan with Thoughts on Praise.
Hello everyone, this is Pastor RJ and welcome to this week's Thoughts on Praise. In this series, I will share Sunsim's philosophy, insights, teachings, and stories regarding to praise. I will also share my testimonies, realizations, and thoughts about praise, choir, and music in general. I hope this series can stimulate some insight about praise, so our life of faith would be filled with more grace. Last week, I shared some stories in Sunsim's mountain prayer training period. And from this week on, there will be a series of 7 episodes focusing on the question, what is praise? So, what is praise? I think the first answer that pops out is, praise is prayer with melody, right? That's the explanation I got when I came to Providence. And I think most members in Providence will give this answer when they encounter this question, right? But, in fact, There are many other answers Sonsonim mentioned beyond praise is prayer with melody. And that's what I'm going to share in the following episodes. And the topic for today is praise is a key. Praise is a key. Now, when we think about a key, the function of a key is to unlock, whether it is a door, a gate, a safe, a treasure box, a luggage, or even a car. The reason why a key is needed is that something valuable needs to be kept safe. So we locked it behind the door or inside a safe, a luggage, a box. Or sometimes the locked item itself is valuable and needs to be protected. You want to keep it safe from being used or stolen by other people. That's why we use a key. Now, what kind of valuables is kept by the key of praise? The message says, if you do the work of praising God, that is a significant work for God. It is the work of giving glory to God. It is the work that will let you receive grace. It is the work that sets the condition for you to be blessed by God. And there's also a proverb saying, a person who lives singing and praising is also someone who received blessings from God. That is why someone who always sings and prays enjoy that blessing. A person who lives singing and praising is also someone who received blessings from God. That is why someone who always sings, pray, and praises enjoy that blessing. So you see, praise is really a good thing to do. When we sing praise to God, it's not just singing, it's giving glory to God. Praising God is a great, significant work we can do for God. Doing the work of praising God is actually setting the condition for you to be blessed by God. How great a thing that is. When you sing praise, you receive peace, joy, and happiness in your heart naturally, right? You also are giving glory to God, fulfilling your mission in service. And on top of that, you are actually paying the condition for you to receive grace and blessing. That's like buying one and get 3 free. What a great investment it is. It's truly a value for money. I also received a lot of grace and blessings through praise, and I want to share 2 stories here. The first one happened at the time when I was studying singing in England. In music department, we have a lot of competitions. And in competitions, we are expected to sing all the works from memory. One time, I applied for an art song competition, and one of the pieces I chose to sing was Beethoven's work, An die ferne Geliebte, to the faraway beloved. It is a song cycle with 6 strophic songs in it. A strophic song means it has many verses which share the same structure and are usually set to the same music. It's like a hymn. One melody can be sung in different verses. And the problem is, I'm really bad in memorizing texts and the lyrics. I always forget lyrics when I sing. This Beethoven song cycle was especially difficult for me to memorize. About 10 days before the competition, I was still struggling in memorizing the lyrics. I was able to memorize only 1 out of the 6 songs. Can you imagine how stressful I felt at that time? I was completely stressed out. That evening, I went to practice room and tried to practice, but I was so worried about it that I couldn't do anything but feel frustrated, nervous, freaked out, tense. I couldn't practice anymore. So, at that time, I started to sing praise songs. I sang praise songs one after another, for about 30 or 40 minutes or maybe an hour. I don't remember how long it was. I just kept singing praise songs and crying while singing. And after that, I put myself together to face the reality. I still need to practice. And guess what? At that night, I memorized 3 more songs. Adding the one I already knew, that's 4 out of 6 being memorized. It was truly a miracle for me. Hallelujah. So, that's the first story. I literally received the blessing of memorizing the lyrics after singing praise songs. And the second story took place after I came back to Taiwan. Since I came back to Taiwan, I ran Providence full-time, and somehow I didn't want to use my music expertise outside Providence. So I took the church choir and developed it. I also did evangelism, management, lecturing, all kinds of church works. I became an assistant head leader and in the meantime set up the Providence Concert Choir. I cut out almost all the connection in the music world and focused only on Providence. In February 2018, a choir contacted me through my former singing teacher and asked if I would be interested in conducting them. And in the end, I took the offer and has been their conductor since then. As I mentioned earlier, I didn't want to use my music expertise outside Providence. So, why did I change my mind? Well, 3 very impressive signs showed that it was God's will for me to take the offer. First, how did they know me? What's the connection? Well, the choir had 2 conductors and one of them was ill and could not lead the choir anymore. So they had to find someone else to take the job. And 2 members of the choir both recalled one young conductor. This young conductor appeared once in the choir they used to sing, in a different choir they used to sing. This young conductor went in to substitute for his singing teacher and lead the choir rehearsal. The rehearsal was so effectively and well led that they were deeply impressed by the young conductor. And guess what? I am the young conductor who impressed them according to their words. And all this happened before I went to England to study music. There was an 18-year gap between that impression and the recall. Which means 18 years later, 2 choir members recalled one impressive rehearsal from their memory and found me through my singing teacher. This must be God working. There's no other possibilities other than God's working. The second sign, I got a message from my former singing teacher a week after Song's-Nim was released from the 10-year imprisonment. The Sunday message that week mentioned, "You will be blessed when you come in and blessed when you go out. That's the dream for this year." So I thought to myself, does it mean that I will be blessed when I expand my music realm to the world? At that time, my mission was shifted from church work to arts department. So I discussed with my leaders in the arts department, and they were very encouraging and supportive. So I continued to contact the choir. And the third sign was the final hint. I got in contact with the choir and got to know the name of the choir. It's Taipei Harmonious Choir in English and Taipei 新生合唱团 in Chinese. I was utterly shocked when I heard their name. Why? Because we used the exact words 新生 as the title for the first concert series of our Providence Concert Choir. This cannot be just coincidence. I believe strongly it was God's work. So it's like I got the permission to go out and be blessed after 8 years of hard work in Providence. I started to work with them, rehearsing twice a month and 4 hours each time, which means it takes me 8 hours a month to work with them. And the blessings I received from the offer include 1. Financial blessing. The salary they pay me almost doubled my income at that time. 2. My conducting and rehearsing technique improved while leading them. I became more versatile in repertoire. And of course, I hope in the future, people from that choir could be evangelized one day. To conclude the episode, just like the proverb saying, a person who lives singing and praising is also someone who received blessings from God. Praising God is a significant work for God. It is the work that sets the condition for you to be blessed by God. I received a lot of blessing and grace through praise, and I'm sure those who are listening to the podcast also have received grace through praise. I encourage everyone to share your stories and your testimonies and make this October the month of giving glory to God filled with grace. That's all for this week. See you next week. Bye.
Okay, and another wonderful episode of Thoughts on Praise with Pastor RJ over there in Taiwan. Hope you guys really enjoyed it, receiving a lot of grace from this too. I am getting a lot of calls from people, and they're saying how much they love this series, so I can't wait to see this series be done more and more each, and I hope that he can even expand this, and maybe we can even be playing this every single October when the month of giving glory to God actually comes out. All right. Either way, it is the Wednesday podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave your comments below for Pastor RJ if you have anything you want to say to him too. Hope you guys have an amazing Wednesday service tonight, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly, so let's realign. Just listen and feel your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, you know. I'm on the Morning Star Drive, you know. I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, you know. I'm on the Morning Star Drive, you know.